Hey, welcome back to the channel. We are back at Cat Lake, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to get our setup with the what board is that? My 4'5" long board. It's got 34 liters, and I'm going to pump around a little bit with a 1-degree shim on it, so that it's basically neutralizing the tail lift. So the Armstrong comes stock with a 1-degree lift to help people get flying, but I'm finding that it's giving me a little bit too much lift. I've never actually tried putting a 1-degree. I've had the 0.5-degree shim on it, and basically it just neutralizes some of that stock lift. And I'm at the point now where I don't want any assistance on that tail in terms of lift. So I put on a 1-degree shim. It's that red shim, and I'm gonna just pump around, practice, and then I'm gonna try to incorporate the paddle and start paddling around and getting a feel of paddling while up on foil. And then after that, if I can feel comfortable with that, we're gonna progress onto the paddle board and try that pop-up. But I know that I've been talking a little bit about my back issues, and I just sort of had this thought that a lot of my back issues can be tied into my progression to the paddle up. And I know you're going, what is Silver talking about? Well, let me explain. So I've been struggling with a bad back for a while, and some people of you guys have given me advice on McGill Big 3, and I with my chiropractor and physiotherapist and acupuncturist, all that stuff, I've been doing a whole bunch of different exercises, including the McGill Big 3, and it helps because you've got your obliques, your transverse abdominis, your abs in the front. And so with the Big 3 and all these other exercises, I am strengthening those muscles. But what I did find is the spine itself. So you got your psoas muscles, and you've got your spinal erectus muscles, and your QL muscles, and I want to strengthen those muscles now, because everything else is sort of is getting better, but I feel like I have to kind of strengthen the spine directly to really get it to a point where I don't have any setbacks, because I find that when I go out, I'll feel kind of strange the next day, or even if I go to the gym, I'll do a leg workout where I'm working with squats, and then the next day my back is sore, and I think I have to take my back rehabilitation to the next level. So there's been kind of like these 3 stages of healing my back, and we're still progressing to that 3rd level where all the muscles around my spine are super strong. Oh, I just want to say, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, so this is just my experience. So don't do what I say without talking to a professional. But my experience is, it's related to foiling, because my first stage of foiling was sort of the flat water pumping, and then I'm at the 2nd stage in my pop-up for the SUP paddleboard journey. Now I'm incorporating the paddling. So if I kind of relate back to my back, the first stage was just sort of strengthening those muscles, like your obliques and your transverse abdominis muscles and your ab muscles, getting rid of the swelling, stabilizing that area. Now we're at that 2nd stage where I'm stretching and I'm doing all of the things and creating stability around my back before we really incorporate tackling that last 3rd stage, where I'm really doing a lot of aggressive exercises for my back, like serious back extensions, where you're just like lifting your back and really targeting all those muscles, and then eventually incorporating weights, where you have weights here and you're bending back and you're really working those your entire spine. So that's the way I'm visualizing how I'm going to progress with my pop-up paddleboarding. Is we're now at that 2nd stage where I'm going to incorporate the paddle, because jumping straight to stage 3 where I'm on the paddleboard and paddling along it felt like I was skipping a number of stages. I was skipping an important step at least. So that's it in a nutshell, and we'll try to really incorporate the paddling, getting a feel of sequencing the pumping with the paddling and getting a feel for that in my body and gaining that confidence before we head out onto the water with the paddle board setup. All right, let's do this. So we got the forward geometry board. It's 4 foot long, 34 liters. We have the 795 performance mast. We have the 1880 front wing, 60 centimeter fuselage, and the 220 glide tail with a 1 degree shim. It's a beautiful sunny day today. I had to get out because the forecast says we're gonna have a couple of weeks of rain, and man, it's beautiful today. It's warm. I think it might even get up to close to 20 degrees in some areas where I'm at, which is it's unseasonably warm. We might be breaking some records. I'm surprised that this place isn't packed right now. It's pretty early. So here we go. 1 degree shim. First time. We'll see how it goes. I think that 1 degree is going to be my regular setup. I think I'm at the point where I can pretty much neutralize the lift for the tail at least. And again, the mast is all the way at the back. There's plenty of lift. You know what's funny is when the water is super flat like this, I was pumping and I lost sense of the water level. When there's ripples, you could see it and you can kind of gauge where the foil is in proximity to the surface of the water. But when the water's this flat, I had no idea, and it kind of gave me vertigo and I started losing my balance. It's something that I have to get reacquainted with, just sort of feeling that foil in the water and feeling where it is in proximity to the surface of the water. right, the back is feeling good. Still not 100%, but the progression is happening, and it might even take years to really get my spine to a place where I can do all kinds of crazy side maneuvers and twists without having any pain. I do play golf, so I want to get to a point where I can really turn. It's really hard on your back, your lower back. So if I keep working on the spine and doing all the stretches, and it's basically stretching and strengthening all the muscles around the hips, back, and maybe in a year really get to a point where my back is super solid. And just to let you guys know, I did about 15 minutes of stretching before I started recording. I'm not just jumping into it. At 50 years old, you're gonna kill you're just gonna injure your back. That's a great way of injuring your back. So I usually do about 15 minutes before, and I'll do a light little cool down after we stop filming. And yeah, oh look, we got some geese coming our way. I think people have been feeding them. That's why they're coming around. But I don't feed wild animals. I tried to adjust my feet, and lost my balance. Actually, my landing was great, but for some reason, okay, so here's the thing. When I'm flat water pumping, I'm pretty square, meaning my feet, where's the board? My back foot is right here, pretty much on the front end of the mast, and my front foot is pretty square. It's not open, like I don't have an open stance, and I'm not, but when I watch downwind supping, I can see that their stance is open, so they're not so square. They're not like this. Their feet are slightly open, so they're more, because I think hours on end, if you're like this, it's gonna hurt your neck and all that stuff. So I've noticed that a lot of guys and gals are they have an open stance, and I thought in my head maybe I should try doing that so that when I transition it'll be a little bit easier. And I tried doing it there and lost my belt, so I don't know if I should stick with that closed off stance and then just open up my stance once I get on the paddleboard. We'll see. I'm still getting plenty of lift, even with that 1 degree shim on the tail. I did bring along a blue shim, which is a 1/2 degree shim, and another red shim. So I may even experiment and start adding even more shims. But first, I want to get comfortable just getting consistently landing and pumping around. Using this forward geometry board, it's so different than using my WKT board. That WKT board, you're so connected to the foil. Still trying to get used to this board, but it's good that I'm using it, because once I progress onto my sup board, which is 106 liters, 7.5 feet, you really do start losing that connection to the foil board, or to the foil. And even though I am able to pump around on that big board, yeah, that feeling isn't the same as being on a WKT board. That connection is just unmatched. Also, as the weather gets nicer, I'm going to try to spend a lot more time on the water. Because of the back and everything, it's been way too sparse. I mean, I think it's been over like 5 weeks at one point where I was on the water. So it's one of those things. It's not like riding a bike where you just hop right back on the bike and you're going. This is a sport where you need that practice. You got so many muscles that are working, and you've got to recalibrate them and fine-tune them. And the only way that you do that is by getting on the water and actually foiling. All right, fell on the turn. Just getting that balance back. I was even thinking my HA 15, I think it was a HA 1550. It was easier to turn. It's tricky because it's a little bit, it's the way it's shaped, the HA. It's tricky to learn because it almost feels like it wants to turn, and finding that nice balance point, it's such a small margin. But once you get that HA, the balance, it's a lot easier to turn with. I found that flat water pumping with that foil and turning is a little easier than with this pump board, the 1880. Pump foil, not board. All right, starting to get that feel. I could feel all the little muscles really struggling to figure it out, twitching and all that stuff. But now, once you get that balance point, it's a little bit easier. All right, so we'll do just a couple more, and then we'll bring the paddle in while I get my breath. I'll show you the paddle I'm using. Same paddle, it's a quick blade Stingray 72. I guess the 72 is inches squared because it's American brand. It's interesting how, like, depending where the product is manufactured, they're going to use the metric system or the I guess for Americans, the imperial system. So this is why we have the 72 inches rather than using, you know, what Armstrong uses, which is centimeters squared. Why can't we all just use one system, eh? Why? Because then it would be too simple. We just want to complicate things. I think I rushed it there. Meaning between sets, I really should make sure that I've recovered. Because it's, unless you get your balance bang on when you land on the board, you got to use a lot of energy shifting your feet around and getting your balance. So it's better if you recover from your last set before doing another one. So I'm going to take a little longer breaks between each set. I also brought 2 batteries, so this could be a longer session. I think I'm gonna lose the gloves now because it's pretty difficult to grip the paddle and the board at the same time. I'm gonna have to do that when I'm launching if I want to incorporate the paddle. I've been giving it some thought. How the heck am I gonna do this? And I think what I have to do is I have to have paddle in my left hand. And I grip like this, jump onto the board. Once I get my balance, start paddling. But I think I have to lose the gloves. The water's cold, but it's not that cold. Temperature's been going up. So I can probably go bare hands, or I even brought along my really thin gloves. These are the XLs. Can't remember, they're 1 millimeter thick. I've had them for a little while. They're great at first. There is a bit of a durability issue. They kind of ripped right here along the wrist, and they've now have some holes in various spots. So they're great at first. It's just durability wise, I don't know if they're gonna last you that long. Depends what your expectations are. Like all kind of neoprene gear, wetsuits, they all do sort of leak after time. So I guess this is no different. But you know, I'm gonna try putting these on, because even though they have a couple holes, they still provide quite a bit of warmth. Just cuts the cold a little bit. And it gives you plenty of dexterity to be able to grip the board and the pedal at the same time. So yeah, I'll go with these for a little bit. Okay, the water's cold. It's really cold, because even with these guys on, I could feel that cold water on my hands. I'm gonna quickly do a test and see and show you guys the holes in this glove. Yeah, you see all that water leaking? A lot of it's here in the in between these, the fingers around the knuckle. There's quite a bit of leakage happening, and there's a ton of leakage here in the wrist where the plastic is ripped. It's better than nothing. Let's do one more loop and then we'll work on the paddle. I tried to do something a little bit different that time. Normally when I'm dock starting, I start with my hands like this, and then before I jump onto the board, I shift my left hand here and my right hand here, sort of where my feet are gonna go. But I was thinking with the paddle in my hand, it might be easier to just keep my left hand fixated and jump on rather than having the paddle do this and try to shift with my paddle in my left hand and jump on. So I tried to just keep my left arm on the board, and I guess because I'm just not used to that, everything kind of went off kilter. What I'm first going to do is I'm going to just do my regular thing where I shift my hands. When I use the paddle, I'll shift my hands, see if it works. If it doesn't, then I'll have to figure out how to jump onto the board without moving my left arm. Still trying to figure out my balance. Can't seem to get my balance. It's strange. I also think there's a bit of my body is changing with the stretching and the rehab. My posture is changing. The way my hips change. I used to like pronate my butt a little bit. I used to angle my butt out because I had tight hip flexors and all kinds of issues around my back. Now, because of all the exercises I'm doing, my hips, my butt are doing less of this, and they're more under me. The hips are sitting like right over my knees and all that stuff. And I guess when I was starting to learn how to foil and all that stuff, I had bad posture, and I was using muscles with my bad posture. And now that my posture is getting better and I'm using correct posture, the muscles are adjusting to that new way of engaging all of the alignment. So it's just taking a little bit of time to get used to. By the way, the water's freaking freezing. My hands are really getting cold. I don't want to go too far out because if I fall off, I gotta paddle back in and my hands freeze. So one of two things, I either have to make that loop really tight or I just don't fall off. That way I don't have to put my hands in the water. That was a good one. So I had good speed taking off. My landing was bang on. So when I started pumping my legs, it was effortless. It's amazing how effortless, not effortless, but you burn way less energy if you can get your landing point on the foil, because it really engages and you can transfer all your power into the foil. And you're not using all these other muscles to try to balance. Rather than if you land on the wrong spot and you're trying to figure it out, each pump is less efficient and you're burning so much energy trying to shift your legs and feed and calibrate. Really important to find that sweet spot when you land. All right, moment of truth. We're gonna start using the paddle. What I'm first gonna do is I'm gonna just kind of get on the dock here and just get some paddle strokes in. keeping in mind to engage both my glutes and my core, so that when I'm on my board, the glutes and the core are activated and I'm not putting additional stress on my lower back. What I'm gonna do, and this is for anybody out there, just go out with a paddle, find a rock, or go to a beach where there's a bit of a drop off, so it mimics being on a board, and you can stand on something solid, and then you can sort of sink your paddle into the water. There's a bit of a gap. It's probably a good couple feet between the surface of the water and the top of the dock, so it's not ideal because it doesn't really mimic being on a paddleboard. So next time I do this little exercise, I'm probably gonna find like a rock or a beach with a steep drop off that more mimics being on the surface of the water with my feet, and then being able to sink the paddle head about a foot into the water to sink the whole paddle portion of into the water, and just practice engaging the glutes and the core and utilizing the big muscles in the back around the lats, not the arms. Just really pulling with the big muscles back here, because I think one of the problems that I was having was I was using a lot of arms, and like with so many sports, you really want to use the big muscles and engage the core in order to get power and stability, and you're just going to have way more endurance and all of the things. So it's one of the things that I think I'm going to do on my own, just do some paddle practice and really work these muscles and feel the efficiency of using these big muscles. But in the meantime, let's do this. Let's jump on this board with this paddle and see what happens. Okay, I got 56 minutes. I got a tiny bit of time left on this battery. That was predictable. I'm gonna switch out the battery. Looks like we're going 2 batteries today. Give me a second. And we're back. Let's try this again. I think just having the paddle in my left hand just kind of messed with me a bit. Also, as I was jumping onto the board, I had a thought. Okay, what am I gonna do once I get on and I start pumping around? So before I go on and land on my board, I'm gonna think, okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first just pump around and see what it feels like to grip the paddle on the handle and down the shaft and just kind of pump like this. I'm not even gonna try to paddle initially. I'm gonna just try to pump around like this, and then I'm gonna glide and then see what happens just paddling without really using my legs for pumping. So 2 things. So first I'll just grip the paddle with both arms and just pump like so, and then I'll just glide and then see if I can, how far I can glide without using my legs and just paddling. I would say that was pretty successful. Landed, pumped around, was able to get some pumps in with my paddle in hand. My landing wasn't ideal. My foot placement wasn't perfect, so I could tell I was fighting it a bit. And then I tried to paddle, and yeah, just the balance just went woo right out the door. But we landed, got some pumps in with the paddle in hand. So let's build on that. Let's keep trying to get a couple paddles in. I don't know if I'm gonna paddle while I'm pumping or while I'm gliding. I'm not sure. I'm just gonna let my body figure it out. One of the things with the paddle in hand is I think I have to keep the paddle in just the left hand till I really have my balance before I grip it with both hands. Because initially when you land on the board, you kind of need both hands to figure out the balance. And once you get that balance, then you can put both hands onto the paddle. So I'm going to pause, make sure I have my balance, and I'm pumping and my foot placement's great before I grip the handle on the top with my right hand. I'm still struggling to find that really great landing spot. I'm still trying to figure out this 1 degree shim on my tail. I'll explain what's happening, what I think is happening. I'm landing on it and my back foot placement is a little bit too far back. So when I pump, I'm getting a lot of lift. So I'm shifting my back foot up and then I'm pumping and I'm not getting enough lift. So it's finding those tiny little margins. Getting used to that 1 degree shim on the tail. Once I get used to it with this setup and getting that back and foot and front foot placement on will really help. My feeling is today I'm really gonna start dialing in the pumping with the 1 degree shim, and then I'm gonna start dialing in just pumping with the paddle in both my hands. I don't know how much actual paddling I'm going to get done today. We'll see. That might be for another couple sessions in the future. And then once I really get that paddling efficient and powerful, and I'm able to just kind of glide along with just paddling, then we'll make the call and decide if it's time to progress onto the sup board. Hey, the good news is I figured out where to put the paddle while you're paddling back. So I was struggling. Do I put it on my back? Where do I hold it in my hand? Can I paddle while sitting on the board? Best place to put it on this 34 liter for me. You put it like this, and you have your chest like this right on top of the paddle, and you could easily paddle with both hands and not lose the paddle. What I'm struggling with is that turn, and it has to do with this 1 degree shim. The technique is a little bit different because with no shim or with the 0.5 degree shim, I can do a couple pumps and there's enough lift to make the turn. But I think that with the 1 degree shim, because there's no lift assist in that shim setup, I have to perhaps increase the cadence of my pumps while I'm turning. Instead of doing big pumps, turn, big pump, turn, big pump, turn, I think I have to do pump, 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 pump while I'm turning, if you get my drift. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get out, pump around, make the turn, come in, and start paddling. But I'm struggling with that turn, and I think it has to do with my cadence. So I'm going to speed up that cadence. I can feel my balance is way off holding the paddle like this and trying to turn. It's just different. Normally I'm swinging my arms as I turn, and I'm able to use my arms like this to kind of get my balance and do this and help the thrust. But with the paddle in my hand, I'm just basically doing this, and I'm struggling with getting the balance and power and turn all at the same time. But what a day. Look at this. I got the lake to myself. Incredible. This is one of the beauties of flat water pumping, or being able to pop up with a sup board and pump around, is there's no noise. it's just quiet. You just hear the birds. If you're using a wing like in your hand, or if you're in the ocean, there's noise, right? There's ambient noise of the waves crashing and all that stuff, or the wind blowing. But if you're someone like me who's sensitive to noise, this is magical. Just quiet. I can already tell that I'm having endurance issues. My body's just not used to being out this long. It's been an hour and a half. So one of the things that I'll try to do as the season gets warmer and warmer is to spend several hours out on the water building up that endurance. Because I can feel like I'm jumping on and I'm not getting the pop out of my legs. Just getting tired. Here's the good news. My back feels good. The test will be tomorrow. How does the back feel? But right now, my back is feeling great. I think for some dryland training, I'm gonna have to incorporate a little bit of running, just endurance running, to build up that cardio and that longevity. I don't know if you guys have noticed the nose of my board. I had to repair it, so it got cracked and I was taking in some water. So I just broke it off, the busted pieces, and I put some, I can't remember the name of it. It's like Soul something, but it's an epoxy. And you can't see it from probably a camera, but it is hardened, so it's sealed, in case anybody's wondering. I think at this point I'm just getting in reps. It's almost like an exercise in endurance. It's just building up my endurance. I'm not that confident that I'm going to be able to really progress onto doing some significant paddling today, but I think we got a lot done. I'm kind of questioning this 1 degree shim and thinking maybe I should go to a 1/2 degree shim. That was a good little takeoff. Important takeaway from that is I had speed. I thought to myself, I'm gonna get more speed. It's gonna really help with my landing and give me a little bit more time to get my feet set. And it did. So on that takeoff, I tried to get a little bit more speed and it helped with everything, getting my feet set. I was able to make the turn. And then I was trying to, second I tried to do a paddle, it really does take a little bit of getting used to how to bend the knees, dip, and get a good pull without throwing your entire body weight off to one side or the other. I think my battery just cut out. I think it overheated. Can you believe it? Battery's already overheating. All right, where are we at? We're probably close to an hour 45, there and thereabouts. We're gonna do another 10 minutes, and then we'll call it a day. I just had a thought. I'm gonna sort of intermittently switch between Cat Lake and doing this, getting out on the ocean with my supboard, just so I can get the feeling of paddling and all that stuff, but I don't want to lose that connection with pumping the foil. So I think it's just a mixture of both, and then hopefully at some point everything will just come together. If anybody has any suggestions or can wants to communicate their journey to pop up paddle boarding, then feel free to write a comment down below. I feel like I'm regressing. Okay. I'm gonna get rid of this paddle for now. I'm gonna do maybe one more circle with just the board, and then we'll call it a day. I think it was a good day. We learned something. Looks like the camera's struggling. Keeps shutting off. You know, I think that's a sign we're gonna call it a day. Thanks for sticking around right to the end. If you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell for all my upcoming videos. And we'll see you on the next one. I think the next session, we're gonna be on the water in the ocean with the 7-foot 5-inch long paddleboard setup. All right, we'll see you out on the water.